Hello and welcome to another special Franchise Hockey Manager 4 stream. My name is Adam. I'm community manager. Why can't I say that word half the time? I don't know.
Easy for you to say. Not if it's in a game title or anything.
Well, exactly. With me, as always, is FHM Producer Jeff, who's pictured on your screen. And today we're starting a new series. And Jeff, what are you making us do? What is going on?
Well, we had a request last time. I thought we haven't done a historical game in a while, so I figured we'd do that. We've been playing it with at least on alternate weeks, with our junior game with the Brandon Wheat Kings, and we kind of took them as far as they can go. Made it to the Memorial Cup and won it. So rather than subjecting you to years of rebuilding after that, I thought we'd move on to something else, back to historical. We had one request last week for the 80s, so we're not quite in the 80s, but this is sort of leading up to the 80s. We'll get there. Since it's Game 7 of Toronto, trying to avoid getting eliminated this year, tonight, I figured we'd go with the Leafs and take them back to the... This is basically right at the point where Toronto started to go bad after being relatively successful in the late 70s. They made it to the semifinals a year before. Wound up losing to Montreal, a Canadiens dynasty team, which was nearly unbeatable at that point. But they looked like they were serious contenders, and then things started to fall apart next year. What happened in the season we're about to play is they finished just above 500, which would be the last time I think they finished above 500 for probably another 13, 14 years at least, until the early 90s. What happened to them, the owner, Harold Ballard, if you're not familiar with the guy, he's a little hard to explain, probably one of the worst owners in NHL history, decided to start interfering with the team. He halfway through this season, when the Leafs were struggling a little bit, he fired the coach Roger Nielsen, which the players weren't happy about that. Nielsen was a fairly popular coach. And instead of hiring a replacement for him, he immediately hired Nielsen back. It was a couple of days later. And instead, what he wanted Nielsen to do was, after he had hired him back and gave him his job back, he had wanted Nielsen to come out and sit behind the bench with a paper bag over his head. This is perfectly legit. Ballard actually tried to get Nielsen to do this, and Nielsen said, naturally, hell no, and it didn't happen, and they continued the season just scraping by above 500, and then what happened next season Nielsen was fired in the offseason. Ballard brought back Punch Imlach, who had coached the Leafs' last Cup winner in 1967. And that was a complete disaster. Imlach was in his, I think, 70s at that point and was sort of out of touch with hockey in general at that point. And they also started trading off some of the key players. Lanny McDonald was the first out the door. Tiger Williams, Mike Palmateer they sold to Washington, their starting goalie. Daryl Sittler was the captain. He was one of the last to go. Eventually he went to the Flyers in 81-82. And that pretty much tore the Leafs apart over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. They had 18-year-olds playing defense, like third or fourth round picks. At one point in 1981, it was just a complete train wreck. Destroyed the franchise for a better part of a decade. And it wasn't until Ballard, who was, I think he was in his late 70s at this point, he hung on until his 80s, until his health really started going downhill, and he finally had to relinquish control of the team, and that's at the point at which Toronto started getting better. But what we're going to try and do and avoid is, what we're going to try and avoid in this game is that whole down period. We'll try to keep the team together, more or less, and see where they could have gone if they had, well, I'm hoping semi-competent leadership.
That's assuming we can do some competent leadership.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so the first thing we've got to do, I'll just give you a general look around the league first. So we're in the year where the league was down to 17 teams, with the smallest the NHL had been, I think, in the last 30 or so years. The Cleveland Barons had dropped out. They'd been merged into the Minnesota North Stars. And this is the year before the WHA expansion, so we'll be getting the... at the end of this season, we're going to have to submit a protected list, and we're probably going to lose a bunch of guys in the WHA draft. But for now, we're still trying to contend. You can see some of the Canucks. This was the first year they used the Star Wars uniforms and the black and gold logo. But first thing we need to do is trim this roster down a little bit. We're still in the preseason, so we can keep the full lineup. But you can see there's a lot of guys just half a star, 1 star. We're reasonably solid in goal with Paul Matier. On defense, 2 excellent guys, Salming and Turnbull. Fairly capable after that. Dave Burrows, good defensive defenseman. Trevor Johansson, fairly impressive rookie at this point, or it would be his 2nd year at this point. And Joel Quenneville in his rookie year. So D isn't that hard. One thing you should know when you're playing historical mode, you'll notice a lot of the ratings are a little lower. They tend to be a bit lower than they do when you're playing a modern game. That's just an artifact of when I originally did all the editing for historical mode. We hadn't really established the standards for ratings yet, so the players tend to be a little low across the board in historical games, and I'm gradually working on improving that. We're actually in one of the better periods for that, or at least heading into it. I've done some work on the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s, so it won't be quite as thin at the bottom of the rosters as they are in some years. But we're not looking too bad here. And Gudu wants to look at the top-rated players in the league. Quickest way to do that is just go into the player search screen. And this is actually... I should... It's going to show us retired players here. I really need to add a filter for that. So we don't want to send Jean Beliveau isn't actually the best player in the league at this point. But you can see Gretzky in the WHA. He's starting with Indianapolis. We'll see where he winds up. But Brian Trottier, not surprisingly, the best player in the league, and Potvin and Bossy. So this is where the Islanders really started to take off. And then a few holdovers. I think Bobby Orr was he still with Chicago? Yeah, Bobby Orr is almost retired at this point. He would actually retire in...
he has like half a knee left at this point, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's 78. I think he retired. I used to have the article somewhere. I think it was like October or November of 78 where he finally officially retired. He couldn't play anymore, but he's actually ready to play at the start of this season. So he's going to hang on a little longer than he did in real life, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Not seeing a lot. Well, we got a few Leafs in there. Lanny McDonald up near the top. I think Salming is there, one of the better defensemen in the league. So we've got a few all-star caliber guys. A little thinner towards the bottom of the roster. Let's. Actually, I think I'm just gonna leave the whole thing as it is right now. Need to set up our tactics first. I'm going to try doing this with everything except maybe the scouting set to... should go in there first. Manager options. I am going to let the assistant do the scouting since that's fairly straightforward in historical games. But everything else I think I will leave up to us. Actually, no, I want to... have the address. No, I know what I was going to do. I keep forgetting.
I was going to say, before you did that, did you want to jump on free agency and sign all the ex-Winnipeg Jets? Because there's like half the team. Or future players.
And just looking for what we're comfortable with here. I think we will go with the Shiro system, and defensively now ironically, since Roger Nielsen's actually coaching this team, they're not that good at the Nielsen system. So we're gonna have to stay away from that. I think we had good luck with the 2-3 in that Brandon game, so I'm gonna stick with that. Global tactics, I don't think I'm going to go... let's see, do I want to switch up the line matching a little bit because of the era? Yeah, I'm just going to shuffle those down a little bit and do it like that. We'll see how that works. I might change that later. And the AI wants... that's fairly close to what the real Leafs did.
Hi, CS312. Thanks for coming to the chat.
And I'm going to swap Williams and Maloney because that was the actual... they did have Tiger Williams on the top line at that point. Okay, I think we're good there. And let's see who it's... I'm going to cut a few guys off the roster at this point. Backup goalie is a bit of a problem. We should maybe look for a guy to there. Pierre Hamel, future Winnipeg Jet. Paul Harrison, Minnesota's backup last year. He got pushed out during the merger, so we've got him now. Paul Matier is the clear-cut starter. Ratcast, we're doing 78-79. And that's Bob Perrant, not to be confused with Bernie Perrant. So we're going to send him down to New Brunswick of the AHL. Oops. So he's not quite ready for the NHL yet. We got a few other guys down. Bob Neely is a veteran. He'd been with the Leafs a few years at that point. Although I think they traded him to Colorado and then they got him back in the off season. But he's sort of washed up at this point. Bob Gladney, the rookie, he can go down as well. Probably going to settle us down to about three extra defensemen for the end of the... to play through the exhibition games, which we'll go through fairly quickly. Yeah, that's about right. And a little thinner on forward, so I think I'll keep everybody up. And looking at the free agent list. Mainly European guys that hadn't actually come over to the NHL at this point. And Bill Nyrup, who was technically retired, came back with, who was it, Minnesota, I think, a couple of years later.
Okay, Brian Label in the chat asked questions. If you switch playing time mid-game, then affect your time for the remaining periods. For example, if you're leading and you want your third line to play a little more, can you change play time mid-game? Would that be a potential strategy when leading?
Yeah, it will affect the AI, the way the AI uses the lines for the rest of the game. Although, I mean, you're halfway through the game, the effect isn't going to be that significant. They might get an extra shift or two.
Yeah.
Let's see, defenseman. And I am playing with development on. This isn't going to recalculate the stats at the beginning, the ratings at the beginning of every season. So it'll be kind of free-form development-wise. See, I've already got plenty of defensemen. I'm thinner at forward, and we. Oh, actually, that. One signing I am going to make, Carl Brewer, who's... At this point, he's 39 years old. He's been out of hockey for 4 or 5 years, but he was one of the guys Imlach brought back the following season and gave him regular playing time, even though he was pretty much over the hill at that point. We'll bring him back and see if he can do any better, but that was one of the issues the players had with him. He was one of the regular players, got pushed out for this old veteran from the '67 team that got brought back. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that kind of happens. Old coaches want their guys who've been around for a long time.
Yeah. And I really should turn the... debugging options off. You can see those numbers there don't show up in the normal game. And pretty good development. Oh wow, Hamel actually developed quite a bit in goal. But he's not quite there yet. I think a couple of guys are up to 1.5 stars. And we will just quickly sim through this. It's just the exhibition season. And a 4-1 win. Not that surprising because Colorado is pretty bad at this point.
What? No, I can't imagine that.
And I'll just quickly run through a week of games so we can get to the start of the regular season.
Okay,
and
better question.
We got an injury. Oh no, that's not good. Daryl Sittler, our best player. Oh, he's out with nausea.
Was Don Cherry coach in Colorado at this time? I can't even remember.
It's a 78, so yeah, I think
he'd be very close.
I think this is his season. Well, I know I can tell from the roster if I look at it. Cherry won't actually be coaching it, but if I see who's on the team. McEwen's not there. I think Cherry might have been gone by this point. I think they got rid of him after this. Oh no, he hasn't gone at this point because they got Lanny McDonald while Cherry was still the coach from us. But we're not going to trade Lanny McDonald at this time, so that is actually Don Cherry coaching, or at least in real life it would have been coaching Don Cherry, coaching the Rockies.
Yeah, Google quickly tells me 79 through 80. Brian Label in the chat again asks, I have a 27-year-old player in fictional league who leads the league in penalties every year by like 50 minutes. Otherwise, he's a great player. Is there anything I can do for him to take less penalties, or is his mental makeup pretty much set?
If you keep him away from any physical type of roles, that'll help a little bit. Trying to think of anything. Is there any other way you could guide him? The biggest one will be the role use. Don't put him in anything. I mean, particularly if you have him in an offensive type role, that's not likely to be increasing his aggressiveness or the amount of fighting he does.
I mean, what kind of penalties is he taking too? I guess that's also... Is he getting fighting majors? Or
yeah, if he's fighting a lot of
tripping guys.
Okay. So 3-0-1 to start the exhibition season. 3 games left. Gonna shuffle the lineup around a little bit just to get some other guys some playing time. And yep, that's Bruce Boudreau in our lineup. Only half a star at this point. And it looks like Sittler will be back for the start of the regular season. That's good news. And another blowout exhibition win against Atlanta, so we may actually not have to do a whole lot player movement-wise this year, although I think we need to do something about that goalie situation before the season starts. I don't think there are any goalies better than half a star in the free agent pool. Oh, Dave Dryden, that's odd. He should be. I'm surprised did Edmonton release him? He was with the Oilers in the WHA that year. I'm not sure why he's a free agent there. But
interesting.
Yeah, not much to be had there. Let's see the trading block. Anybody? And yeah, it's all half-star guys down there. So
Savoy 45 in the chat says Bruins have the Leafs number, it seems, much like the Penguins have the Capitals number. Really, does anyone outside of Toronto really care if Toronto loses?
No. Oh wow.
No, I'm serious.
I didn't. I just know. Did you see what happened at the end of the game? Are you watching it? I just saw the score there. How it finished.
I knew they were up by several. I didn't see the end.
Well, last I saw, they were up 5-4, and they finished 7-4. So that is the end of the real Leafs for this season. Oh, and we should. As
opposed to the fake Leafs.
Yeah. Well, these are the fake Leafs we're playing.
Okay, Brian Label also adds that it's his guy is fighting, so.
Another thing you can do to get to cut down on that is find another guy who'll fight, and preferably more often than the guy who's doing as much fighting now. If you've got a second fighter on there, that'll tend to split things up a little bit more between the two of them. Okay, let's.
You might also want to look at your tactics as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take a quick look there, but what I'm going to do first is shuffle through the minor leagues and look through any. Oh, is there a. Okay, the Islanders have one Swedish goalie, Goran Hagasta, in Fort Worth. Red Wings have sent Jim Rutherford, future Hurricanes GM, down to Kansas City, the CHL. So I'm going to make an offer for him. So we're just looking for a backup here. Don't need anybody that great. Rutherford's got a few seasons left in him at this point, so I will offer my backup, Paul Harrison, and let's try about a third-round pick.
Sounds like a good plan.
Probably a little generous, but there's a question for you in chat, Adam. How many games does Nashville Winnipeg go?
Jeff and I were talking about this before, not very long before we started the stream, and first off, if you're following me on, if you're following franchise hockey on Twitter, you would have seen I posted some live video from Game 5 of the Jets Wild series because I was at the game, and you could hear how loud it was actually in the arena. I think he did a pretty good job of picking it up. Said he got to about 115 decibels, so you can kind of Google that yourself and look and see how loud that actually
Probably
was.
Not too healthy.
Probably not for a long time, no. But the Preds-Jets series should be good. I expect it to go 6 games, maybe 7. And can Winnipeg win it? Absolutely. Can Nashville win it? Absolutely. Honestly, I really don't know what team's going to come out on top. They both kind of punch back and forth fairly well, and it really... The games, if you watch any of the regular season games, were the most odd games ever because it literally started off as just stupid high scoring games. I think they said in the 5 games there was 41 goals, and these are 2 of the better defensive teams in the league. So even the teams are kind of we don't understand why we're scoring so much. So I don't know. It really depends who shows up, and if Pekka Rinne plays great and shuts everything down, it's not going to last long.
He's been playing great all year, though. So you wonder at what point is he going to finally start to slip?
Well, so's Hellebuck too. If Hellebuck comes out and plays like he did in Game 4 and Game 5 too, it could be a very quick series for Winnipeg because he looked pretty near unbeatable. So who knows? That's my biggest thing. Who knows?
Dylan and Jet, we're as Canucks fans. Come on, you know better than that. We're not going to get a decent pick in the lottery. We're going to be picking like 6th or 8th or however low we can possibly fall. Okay, just should explain here what I'm doing. Been sending a few guys down. Instead of what the relays did this season, I decided to go with some of the younger guys that would probably wouldn't get a chance for another couple of years in real life. John Anderson, Rocky Saganuk, Joel Quenneville, and send some of our veterans like Gary Monahan down. Can always bring them back, but for now we'll go with a bit of a youth movement and try to get these guys developing a little bit earlier and maybe a little bit more than they did in real life. Strategy-wise, let's... Oh, and we did get the trade accepted. That's convenient.
What trade was that? Sorry.
That's the getting a backup goalie.
Over
Jim Rutherford from Detroit. Now, do I want to put any of these guys in New Brunswick on the trading block? I'll try a couple. Put Monahan. I don't think we're going to get much for him, but nobody else is probably going to get me much for a return. And what does he want to do with that lineup? Make a few switches here. We actually had a couple of losses at the end of this. We lost, so we've slowed down a little bit towards the end of the exhibition season. We started off better. Let's see. I won't dress Sagnick to start the season. I'm gonna put Ron Ellis in. He's almost done at this point. Ellis had actually retired for a couple of years. You can see from the pop-up there, he's missing 75, 76, and 76, 77. He came back in 77 and actually had a pretty good year, but then he started to go downhill right after that and wasn't in the league much longer. Other than that...
Savoy45 in the chat asks a question that we can't answer. So
yeah, not too much to report this yet. It's coming along. We're still working on it. I've been doing some stuff with the player editing, so we can get the editor back to the researchers soon. We've made a few changes, and we're trying to make a few changes right now in the way player value is estimated. But I'm trying to balance that just right now. It's first try at it came out a little bit off.
Or maybe the game's done. We'll be shipping at the end of the week.
Don't say that.
Right?
People will take it seriously.
No.
Okay, and when Trevor Johansson get injured, I have to put Greg Hubik back in. Actually, no, I'll do it this way.
Wasn't expecting much, just asking, he says. Well, always collecting ideas, I guess, right?
Okay, I think we're finally ready to start this. Roll around to the start of the regular season. Scouting report coming in. And season preview. Do they say anything about us? Absolutely nothing, looks like. Montreal and Buffalo are apparently the teams to be. Oh, and actually no, it's the Islanders. Islanders, Montreal, and Buffalo, which is pretty accurate as to how it was, but bunch of player requested number changes there. I just went ahead with all of those. Didn't have to turn any of them down. Okay, here we go. We got the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I think this was the season before they went to the black and gold. So they're still in the lovely purple and blue.
Purple?
Or, well, blue and darker blue.
Yeah, not purple. Actually, Jeff, we're speaking of old teams, and from around this time, I was watching on Twitter, and somebody, because as you may or may not know, some football camps up in Canada have kicked off, and a reporter was wearing a Winnipeg Whips hat.
I have no idea what that is.
Not many people do, but back in the early 70s, for a couple of years, Montreal had their AAA farm team in Winnipeg.
Ah, okay.
It was the Winnipeg Whips.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, we get a tie in the first game of the season because it's the 70s and there are still ties.
I said, wow, that hat looks amazing. And I found out where the person got it from, and it turns out it's a $50 hat. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to buy
one of those Ebbets Field Flannels things? Where you get them?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, you can... They'll actually do custom... if you can get enough people together to split the cost between you, you can get a group of people together and they'll basically do any uniform you want, unless there's a copyright issue.
Yeah, well, they had the hat and jersey, and together it would be about $250, and I'm like, that's a lot of money.
It's too bad, because there was a junior A team here in the 70s, the Kelowna Buckaroos, who had these really sharp-looking they were black, red, and white uniforms. And I'd like to have one of those, but there's no way I'll ever be able to find enough people who want one.
Well, they have Moose Jaw Canucks up on that site, I saw. Which I thought was an interesting jersey.
Okay, just setting up my lines. They're not quite the way I want them here.
Which site is it? It's Ebbets Field Collectibles, I believe is what the name of the site is.
Is it Collectibles? I think maybe they changed Ebbets Field something. Just Google Ebbets Field uniforms and you'll get them. Okay, I think I'm happy with the way that looks now.
It's Ebbets.com.
Oh, just Ebbets.com? Okay.
Yep. But it is Ebbets Field Flannels.
Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff on there. Even they said their pre-made stuff is a little bit cheap. Well, it's still all pretty pricey, but some nice stuff there, particularly the old baseball uniforms.
Yeah, I just posted a hat to the Winnipeg Whips for those who do not know what the team looked like.
Okay, and we get our second game of the season against the Islanders, so that's kind of getting a tough schedule to start off with. Oh, we got to set our goaltender settings at some point too, and we wound up losing 4-2. We'd actually upset the Islanders, at least did in the second round previous year. They weren't expected to win and wound up knocking them off, and that kind of delayed the start of the Islanders dynasty for about a year. Or two, maybe.
I would like to point out, because we didn't bring it up too, if you didn't see, Ratcast sent me an image too of his beautiful new Seals jersey he got. And it is very pretty.
Home or away? The gold or the like to the tealish?
It is the gold.
Yeah, that looks better. The teal was kind of a weird color. It didn't look as nice as like the 90s, early 2000s sea sharks.
Yeah. Dylan 88 Jr. telling us about finding a Dale Earnhardt Sr. jacket in his closet. Also very cool.
Okay, Palmetier is gonna get the bulk of the work this year. And alright, I think that's my settings for the goalies. And the Don Cherryless Bruins are up next, looks like. This was Fred Creighton coaching him this year? He had him in 78. I can't remember if this was if he still had him at this point. Good.
Was this a year after that they fired Cherry for something that was kind of his fault but not really his fault?
The too many men on the ice?
Yes.
Yeah, that was yeah, I think this was the season after that. And we win 2-1, and Jim Rutherford gets his first win as a Leaf. And I think I'm probably going to play about 10-15 games out before we take a look at the roster and see how we're doing, and if we need to take make any player moves. Evan Boulder, Chicago falls down some stairs and hurts himself. And that's not good. The Islanders, for the Islanders at least, Mike Bossy out. And it looks like we got back against the Sabres. Game 1 is Palmetier gets a shutout, 3-0, and starts to get hot. So that was at home, and this one is on the road against Buffalo. And a 6-3 win, so we're on a roll here.
All right.
May not need to make too many moves. Which is really what should have happened in real life, because the Leafs were in pretty good shape. They were probably headed places, but Ballard tore them apart. Oh, speaking of, you want to know more about the Leafs in this area, if you can find this on Amazon, Ballard by William Houston. It's sort of an unauthorized biography of Harold Ballard, and it's not talking just about the Leafs in this period, but it's about Ballard's whole life, or at least up until the early 80s, up until this, a few years after this, but definitely worth a read. I'm just having a look through it before we got started. There's a ridiculous number of crazy stories about the guy in there.
I'm somehow not shocked about that.
And we go down 3-2 to the Flyers. And is this the... can't remember if it was this season or the next season where the Flyers had that 30-something game undefeated streak. And kind of busy schedule to start the season off here. And Rutherford wins another one for us, 3-2 against the Rangers. And former Leaf Wayne Thomas in goal for the Rangers. Oh, I do have the draft turned on, by the way, so we're going to have to...
Have some fun with that.
Oh, that won't be filled up until the start of the next season. Okay, Leafs Habs. They started 4-1-1. We're 4-2-1. So I'm gonna play this one out. What did I leave the settings on? Crank these up. I'm gonna go through it pretty quickly. Just the goals show and this would have been the Ken Dryden's in goal for the Canadians. This would be his last season. He still was pretty much in his prime at this point, but retired after the end of the year, so he could go write books and be a politician and stuff like that. And we're in trouble. 3-0. We held in that. We were there for about half a period and then kind of collapsed. And Guy Lafleur makes it 4-0. Okay. I'm just going to sit and rest this out. I don't want to see what happens here. How bad does it get? 9-2 final. Ouch.
That sounds very late 70s, early 80s scoring.
4 points for Guy Lafleur, including a hat trick. Scoring didn't get too crazy until after the WHA merger. That's when it really started to take off, but it was already starting to head in that direction. After that blowout, I need to maybe look at making some changes. I'm going to have to anyhow because Ron Ellis strained his foot. And please, Stamler for Curtin as the extra wing. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Juggles the lines a bit.
Excellent.
And we bounce back with a 3-2 win over the Flyers. Demoted Tiger Williams to the third line. He wound up scoring twice.
Well, that's probably a better spot for Tiger Williams anyways, let's be honest.
No, they actually had pretty good chemistry as line, him, McDonald, and Sittler. And then we come back and knock off the Bruins 2-1. So where are we at this point? 10 games in. Started 6-3-1, so off to a pretty good start for this season. And Bob Gainey's the player of the month. Our development, young guys coming along. Nobody headed downhill at this point, so all good there. Kings in there. Now these guys, they actually were wearing purple uniforms. Purple and gold. And we wind up losing 5-3. Oh, we lose 5-3, but we broke Marcel Dion's shoulder, and he's out for 5 months, so we pretty much ruined the Kings season right there, even though they got the 2 points. And
well,
Bobby Orr. I don't want to see I don't like seeing 9-2 blowouts against the Canucks, but 4 assists, so Orr's knee is holding up so far.
Also good news.
And against the Canucks in the lovely Star Wars V uniform. And an easy 4-1 win for us. Ron Ellis rather, just about healthy again. Oh, a bit of surprise there. Glenn Resch, they traded Chico Resch. I think it was actually the season after this when they finally moved him, because the Islanders had both Billy Smith and Glenn Resch, who were both all-star caliber goalies in goal, and they eventually moved Resch to Colorado and got Mike McHugh and a few other guys back, and that was what pretty much solidified them as a dynasty in the early 80s, but they've moved him here to the Sabres for a first-round pick. Oh, it's a little surprising because the Sabres are relatively good and solid in goal right now. And should be an easy win on the road against Colorado.
The most important question you could get asked. Good in the chat, Jeff. So what season are you looking to go and get Gretzky?
See, now I'm not Adam. I don't cheat to get star players on my team.
I don't cheat either.
How did you get Austin Matthews on the Panthers again, Reminder?
I gave up 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, that technically wasn't your fault. That was a problem with there was a player evaluation bug at the moment in the game, and you happened just to hit it at exactly the right time. So you didn't do it on purpose, but you technically still shouldn't have been able to get Austin Matthews.
I still gave up a ton, let's be clear. Let's not undervalue the amount I gave up.
And try to get the lines a little closer to what they were at the start of the season when we were doing better. So we only wound up with a tie against Colorado. That's not impressive.
With the Leafs officially eliminated, Jeff. Okay.
So you cut out there,
as a
Adam?
Vancouver.
All I heard was with the Leafs officially eliminated.
With eliminated. Are you okay with people calling his team?
Didn't hear you again. Calling them what?
Canada's team.
Oh, Canada's team, the Jets. I don't have a problem with the Jets.
I mean, honestly, like the Jets are probably like one of the few teams you can actually cheer for across Canada.
Yeah, at least offensive. You haven't gotten as obnoxious as you were in the 80s with the old version of the Jets. You'll get there, I'm sure.
Oh, probably.
Winnipeg sports is so sad in general at this point. When was the last time the Bombers won a Grey Cup?
Why you gotta be like this, Jeff?
I mean, I'm just explaining it to you. Everybody feels pity for you. That's why they're being nice.
No, but I mean, like, you get to a point of, like, you can't really... People from Montreal like Montreal. People from Toronto like Toronto. Calgary and Edmonton are just whatever. Edmonton's a wasteland of first-rounders and disappointment since their dominance in the 80s. Vancouver is ineptitude. I argue
there's really only 2 non-controversial Canadian teams. It's Winnipeg and Ottawa.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Ottawa's the only other team I can really cheer for. And one of my best friends is a huge Ottawa fan. So I don't mind helping him out.
And I honestly don't mind when Montreal does well. That's fairly uncommon opinion here. Wow, they just speaking of Montreal, they blew us out 7-0 here. Has Montreal even lost a game at this point? 14-1-1. So yeah, they're just ridiculously good in the late 70s. We're going to have to deal with that in the playoffs at some point, unfortunately. Alright. Where are we? Did we hit 15 games yet? Oh, we're at 16. So 8-6-2 through our first 16 games. Actually, because of those Montreal blowouts, our goal differential is all screwed up. So 1/5 of the way through the season. That's surprising. Walt McKechnie, our second line center, is leading us in scoring. Sittler isn't doing that well. Salming having a pretty good year. Secondary scoring is alright, I guess. And sort by game ratings. Yeah, not surprising. The rookies are right near the bottom. Salming at the top. Dave Burrow's playing pretty well. Good defensive defenseman. And Williams still hurt day to day. Let's have a look around the league.
Rube Baker OOTP says he's excited for the Maple Leaf stream. You're the only one, Rube. I've been following the FHM stream since FHM 2. My favorite has been the LA Kings series from FHM 3. Well, glad you're enjoying them.
And absolutely nothing of interest on the trading block. It's all guys who are half star or so and are pretty much on the way out of hockey at this point.
Which is not unexpected.
Yeah, so if I'm going to make a move, I think it's probably going to be close to the trading deadline. Although I'd like to turn this around because we're losing a little too often. There we go, 4-1 win against the Sabres and a hot Don Edwards in goal. Oh, do I have any contracts expiring? It's the 80s, so it's not really a big concern. But oh, actually, literally nobody with a contract up this year. That's a good start.
That's interesting.
But a bunch of them, I've got a lot of 2-year deals that are expiring next year. And a 3-3 tie against Boston. Well, my goalie's doing. Rutherford is actually playing pretty well. 3.01 goals against average, and Palmateer's numbers are slightly worse.
Now, this would be the last year, too, of the WHA, right?
Yep, they will be dead at the end of this season, and speaking of which, I'll just take a quick look at them and see how they're doing. Hang on.
And then the NHL destroys all the teams.
So there we go. Actually, the Oilers are pretty terrible. They don't have Gretzky at this point. Jets are in 3rd overall, and New England leading the league. And Jet legend Marcus Matson off to a good season, a good start and goal. Jets are actually half decent. I mean, they're not quite a good, probably wouldn't do great in the NHL at this point, but Kent Nielsen, Terry Wiskowski, Morris Lukowicz, fairly good, not quite NHL caliber lineup. It's solid, and the Oilers are the worst team in the league. And Stan Weir, former Leaf, was this the year that he just moved over to them this season? BJ McDonald and a few young guys, but nothing like the dynasty that would be coming. Dave Semenko's in there.
Yeah, well, that's...
Oh, I should have checked to see how Gretzky was doing. And another tie against the Blues this time. Let's go back to the WHA. Indianapolis Racers. Wayne Gretzky wearing 99, 17 points in his first 14 games, so pretty Gretzky-like.
About what you would expect.
Yep. And it's only going to go up from there. And Walt McKechnie just hurt himself during practice. That's not good. Although it looks like Tiger Williams is ready to come back. But I'm going to need to shuffle the lineup a little bit around now. And 4-1 loss to Atlanta. That's good. Are we up to 20 games? Yeah, 9-7-4. So we're slightly better than the actual Leafs for doing this season, but not really significantly outperforming them. So I think we're going to have to look for a trade around the middle of the year. And now we just lose 6-3 to the Islanders. Future Blues president John Davidson in goal.
Current Columbus president, is he not?
Yeah. And there's Colorado with the, I always like that logo.
I do too. I was happy when they brought it back up for their Stadium Series jerseys. Or
And
something very close to it.
we almost blow it, but Palmatier comes up with the shutout, and we get a 1-0 win there. Next up, the pre-Lemieux, pre-Crosby, pre-everything Pittsburgh Penguins. And 4-4 tie.
Dylan88 Jr. says, what do you think about the Sedins retiring? I think we might have covered this.
Yeah, I think it's
On the
14
day.
million salary money that the Canucks have open next year. So, John Tavares, how much you want?
Of all the places he could sign, I don't see that happening.
Well, you think he's going to head to Winnipeg?
I didn't say that. I did not say that. But
Okay, McKechnie sounded like he was getting close to coming back, but he's still hurt. Yeah, strained oblique, 2 weeks. What are we up to? The start of December. When is the trading deadline? Is March 13th, so we've actually got quite a ways today to go before we hit that. And the board, unfortunately, we don't have actual Harold Ballard. If I can ever get the actual historical owners in, that'll be really fun to play as Elise in this era, because Ballard will be completely unreasonable, and you'll be lucky to get through a season with them.
yeah, that'll be fun.
And lose again to Davidson and the Rangers, 4-2 this time. Take a look around the league. Just because we're running a little low on time here, see how everybody's doing. We're still second in the old Adams division, just ahead of the Bruins. Minnesota, despite the merger, is kind of struggling.
Guru in the chat says, have they said that they're going to stay with the Canucks organization in some capacity?
They've implied that they're going to be sticking in Vancouver. Wow, what's wrong with the Canucks here? I just noticed that 121-3 to start the season. That's worse than the Bill LaForge year. What's going on there? Oh, they got some injuries, but... Oh, yeah, this is Ray. Yeah, I remember this season. They were just Smeal and Gradine were still relatively young and hadn't really developed yet, and the older guys were all falling apart around them. Wow, Rob Tudor's the second leading scorer. That's just sad. Oh yeah, that was an ugly year. It's one of the first years I watched Vancouver. It's amazing I stuck with them after that.
Yep.
And another 3-3 tie against the Flyers. Bernie Perron still playing for Philadelphia. He hurt his eye later in the season in real life, and that was the end of his career. But he may stick around like Orr. Oh, and speaking of Orr, that's maybe where we should, we're running out of time here, so take a quick look around the league. And how is Orr doing? Still healthy. 21 points in his first 23 games, so not where he was in the early 70s, but still pretty impressive. And Chicago's off to a solid start. Now Colorado's actually playing half decent for Cherry.
No, that's good.
And the league leaders. Oh yeah, Lafleur shot the Canadians way out in front. So yeah, they're headed for about 125-30. Oh, it looks like they've got Bob Gainey playing on a line with them. So he's piling up points this year. Stan Mikita was almost done at this point. I'm surprised he's doing that well. He's not rated that highly. Huh. Must be doing well because Orr's around. And wow, I'm not... Oh, actually, Walt McKechnie somehow for us was 16 goals, 19 games. I just noticed that. One of the top scorers in the league before he went down. I don't know how he was doing that. He wasn't really a big scorer in real life. And that pretty much sums it up. Look at the plus-minus leaders. All top 10 guys are Canadians. Or top 9, rather.
Well, when they beat us 7-0 every game, it's not unsuspecting.
Yep, and they're 22-3 to start the season, so they're just going to, unless something happens, I mean, they are going to start to age at the end of this year, but that is going to be really difficult to beat in the playoffs. Yeah, just stupid amount of depth. Rod Langway, future multiple Norris Trophy winner, is like their third or fourth best defenseman. Although they will get chalked down to size a little bit when the expansion draft comes up in the off season for the WHA teams, which is going to hurt us too, but hopefully not quite so bad.
Yeah.
We're not going to lose any of the top guys at least. Okay, let's just play this one last game against Boston, and I think I'll watch this one, and then we'll call it a night after that.
All right.
Hopefully we can get through this one without getting blown out at the end of the first period, like the Canadiens game did. Jerry Cheever's in goal for the Bruins, and Rutherford's in goal for us, and he gave up one already. Who's on this Bruins team? Okay, yeah, I mostly remember this team. The year after Phil Esposito retired. Well, he had been traded for the Rangers at that point. They still got the Bruins. They should still have Jean Rattel. He must be hurt. I don't see him there. And 1-0 at the end of the first. And Don Marcotte makes it 2-0. And Daryl Sittler cuts the lead to 2-1. And the other book, if you want to read about the Leafs in this era, is Sittler's autobiography, which isn't nearly as interesting as the Ballard book, but also worth a read if you can find it. And we're up 3-2 as I took the time to do that. So bounce back at the end of the second, and can we come out of this with a win? Nope, Rick Middleton ties it up. So 17 minutes left in the game, and we're killing a lot of penalties this period. Bruins are on the power play for the first 6 or 7 minutes of that. No wonder we gave the lead back. 5 minutes to go, and Salming beats Cheevers with. And we're going to get another one here. John Anderson makes it a 2-goal lead. So bounced right back after all those penalties, and do we get an empty netter here? Took a couple of late penalties, but no. 5-3 win for us. And I'll have a quick look at where that leaves us in the standings. Solid second in the division and 6th overall in the league, so not too bad. I think the actual Leafs were a little towards the middle of the pack. I think they were 8th or 9th this year in the overall standings. Montreal out waiting from them. Atlanta having a good year. That's a bit of a surprise. And whatever is going on in Vancouver, I have no idea what's happening there. Just the Canucks are probably going to get the first overall pick this year. So, do you want to wind it up there, Adam?
Sure. Thank you very much for tuning into another Franchise Hockey Manager 4 stream. We typically stream every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/OOTP Developments. You can also find us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Franchise Hockey Manager. On Twitter, we're at Franchise Hockey. You can also find a link to our Discord channel on our Twitter page as well. If you want to talk about Franchise Hockey Manager, Out of the Park Baseball, or anything else, come on to our official website, which is ootpdevelopments.com. Click on the community button in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to our official forums. And of course, as always, all of our videos are archived on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ootpdevelopments.
And I think that just about covers it. Can't think of anything else we've got going on at the moment. We may or may not have a sale coming up sometime in the future. We generally do that at some point in the playoffs, so keep an eye out for that. But you will hear about that when it's time. Other than that, I think we'll be back next week. We're still playing the Florida Panthers, still hoping to get a cup in that game. Although at the rate this one's going, I think we may be a little more likely to get one in this game than that one.
Why you gotta be like that, Jeff?
I don't want to say anything about the Jets, so I'm not going to jinx you, but so I got to talk about the Panthers game instead. Okay, everybody, so thanks for coming out, and we will see you back here next week.